Just so everybody knows who I am, I'm Rob Walsh, one of the co-founders here at VividCharts, and I lead our sales and go-to-market efforts. So working with customers on an individual basis through the concepts that we're going to be covering in today's webinar. We work across the ServiceNow platform, but we're going to be heavily focused on ITSM today. So here's kind of the flow we're going to have for the webinar today. Very briefly, I'm going to give a little bit of an intro on VividCharts and where we fit in the ServiceNow reporting landscape. And then we're going to get into the content. And we're going to start in the slides here talking about how we lay the foundation for scale and establish some key concepts that are important for that foundational element. We're going to talk about some of the key reporting cadences that we hear organizations needing to support. We're then going to talk a little bit about the 3 Ds of AOR, data, design, and delivery, that trickles into the different report types and cadences that we need to support when we're running ITSM. And then we're going to start to translate those concepts actually into the VividCharts product, and that'll be more of a workshop demo format. So to get started, just so everybody who's joining today, if you're not familiar with VividCharts, we are a ServiceNow advanced build partner, and we provide automated operational reporting directly out of the ServiceNow platform. So our plugin installs directly into your ServiceNow instance. We don't pull the data out to an external data warehouse. Everything is safe and secure in your environment, and you can use our product to automate your operational reports. And we're going to see a variety of report types today, all aligned to the ITSM space, but more importantly, aligned to different business models, different audiences that we had to serve data and reports up to, and the cadences we need to support to really have ITSM reporting work at scale. So everything you see today is native to the ServiceNow platform, certified by ServiceNow, and works seamlessly with various setups of your instance. Let's start to talk about some of the foundational elements of an ITSM reporting program. And really the right place to start when we talk about scale from a reporting program standpoint is that your program has to support and align to the business model that your organization has if you want to have the impact that you want. Okay, as we talk with different organizations across different industries, instances are set up in so many different ways to support different business models, different facility types, and your reporting program really fundamentally needs to align to those. So some of the examples that we can think about as you're in the audience for your organization and your reporting program is any location or facility specific support teams that are out there. If you think about, if you're a healthcare organization, very specific facilities that might have teams and individuals responsible for those areas. If you're an airline, you might have teams that are specific to certain locations and airports out there. So having your reporting program aligned to these locations, if your organization is split up into various business lines, you need to have reporting outputs that support those, right? Geographic support, if you're a global organization and you have different geos and support teams associated with those. So really important when you think about the foundation of your reporting program is that it supports your business model, and your instance is already going to be, hopefully set up to support that, right? If you have a less complex org structure or support structure, this could be broken down just at the service level, the service offering level, different assignment groups. And for our managed service providers in the audience out there, this could mean having a reporting program that aligns to providing report outs to your external paying customers, right? So you need very specific formats for those, as well as external partners that maybe support your operations but aren't a formal part of your organization. So there's a lot of different ways you can configure ServiceNow instance and align your reporting program to that, but it's really critical that your industry and support structure guide your reporting program. And then you start to layer in the audience types that are interested in the data in your instance and serving up very specific report types out for that. So this will be a concept that we reference throughout the slides today, as well as the demonstration. But the key is having your foundation aligned to your business model and your support structure as an IT organization. Once we've established that, we can then start to think about what are the audiences that we have out there that are probably both within IT and outside of IT that are interested and need visibility and insights powered by the data in your ServiceNow instance. So you think about the content of the previous slide, you're going to have different facilities, potentially different geos where you have to slice the data. But even within those, you're going to have an org structure that goes vertically as well as horizontally, where you need to serve up report types at the executive level to certain business stakeholders. Again, for managed service providers, this could be your external clients and partners, as well as different levels within IT leadership. There's many management levels throughout an IT organization and different needs as far as reporting and data visibility goes. So defining your audience within your business model and your support structure is another really critical foundational element to your reporting program to really set it up for scale. And something to really think about when you're talking about ServiceNow, and we speak with organizations daily on this, your ServiceNow footprint is not staying the same on a year-over-year basis, right? You're where you're at today, but you also have a roadmap that's taking you out into 2024, into 2025, and beyond. And with that, you're probably introducing new modules, new capabilities, new services, and all that results in more data flowing through the instance that you need to have a program set up for to funnel these insights in the visibility layer out to your key audiences. So starting with the business model and the support structure, then layering in what are the audience types that we need to have reports out there supporting, and how do we start to operationalize that? Now, the next thing we're going to layer in here is the cadences that you need to support, right? There on a daily basis, there are various meetings, questions being fielded. A lot of things are happening in real time out there. And so you need different report types and really different report cadences that support these different situations. So we kind of bucket these out into the real-time category, the periodic category, and more ad hoc report requests. So let's take a look at each of these in a little bit more detail here. So in the real-time bucket, this is going to be more of your self-serve reporting experiences. These are going to be designed to answer as many of the common questions that you can. You can never serve up a dashboard that's going to answer every question under the sun that you're going to field, but you probably have a sense of some of the common questions and data points that you need to provide real-time visibility into. So this is the what's happening right now bucket, right? Contextual information on different ticket types, priority levels, the contact channels they're coming in through, all having a nice, easy, real-time view of that. So that's kind of cadence number one, real-time. The second type of cadence you're going to need to support to really scale as an ITSM organization is periodic reporting. So these are reporting outputs that are going to be produced at a specific cadence and probably slice the data in a way that aligns to, again, your business model and the support structure that you have. So these are reports that are going to show, what happened last week, last month, last quarter, these performance review type reports where you're probably in a meeting and you're trying to not just show performance in a clear and concise way, but really driving discussion and decision-making conversations on how you move the needle in one way or the other. So very different type of reporting, periodic versus real time, and you need report types that make these periodic reviews much easier, more efficient, and not manual for your organization. So periodic is the second report type or cadence, and we're going to show different report types in the workshop portion here that aligns to that. The final bucket is the most unpredictable, right? It's ad hoc report requests, right? You're getting questions all the time that are driven by different operational scenarios or focus points that come up in meetings and discussions where you need to ask a question of the data very quickly. And the key in this bucket is going to be having a flexible set of tools due to the unpredictable nature of these questions, right? And time to answer these ad hoc and deliver on these ad hoc reporting requests is absolutely critical. Okay, so we're going to map these in the workshop portion and show examples of reports that are fit for real time, periodic, and these ad hoc reporting requests. Now, this is all happening in real time in all of our organizations out there. And we kind of started with what the vision is, right? Having layers of visibility and funneling insights out to our different audiences in the organization or outside of. But when we actually go to deliver on these different cadences, it gets really messy, right? At the executive layer, key business stakeholders, you're getting requirements and expectations that might be really unique to your organization. And so when we go to start to deliver on those, we find ourselves far too often taking the manual route in Excel, screenshotting parts of the ServiceNow platform or even reports that we have and putting them into PowerPoint presentations to distribute out and present on. Even going to external platforms like a BI platform to maybe just get some extra distribution to users that don't have licensed access to come into ServiceNow, or do some more complex reporting on the data. But the main picture here is that the reality of delivering ITSM reporting at scale is pretty messy and is littered with all kinds of challenges. And again, you have your ServiceNow landscape as it is today. But as you look at 2024 and introduce new modules, more data, the problem gets bigger, the problem gets messier, and out into the future. So the problem is going to compound with each year as you're adding new modules and apps to your ServiceNow environment. So what we're going to work through today is really start to formalize like how you set up a reporting program at scale so you can avoid as much of this mess as possible and have it be automated and an efficient program that you're running as opposed to just scrambling to keep up with the demand. So this is a picture that is really common with the organizations that we talk with, but you don't end up in this mess for unrational reasons, right? There are very real constraints in the ServiceNow platform that prevent us from getting the types of reports that we're talking about that are real time, periodic, and ad hoc. So I'm going to share some of the common barriers that kind of break this reporting workflow, and then set the stage a little bit for what you're going to see in the VividCharts product today and how we address these so you can be more efficient and be better suited for scale. So we bucket these out into three kind of primary areas for a given report, and this is consistent across any report that you're going to be delivering. You've got the data, the design of the report, and then how it's ultimately delivered and accessed by your audience. So if we look just at the data portion of this, these are some of the common challenges that we hear from ServiceNow customers when they're just trying to like visualize their data and deliver on reporting requests in a quick way. What do we do when we can't calculate the data in the way that we need? We go to Excel. What about combining data from multiple tables? There's some more complex ways to handle that in the ServiceNow platform, but far too often we go to places like Excel or even look at a more complex solution that's BI driven. And finally, what if we just flat out don't have the visual or chart type that we need in the platform? All of these challenges can lead to more manual routes that just don't scale. Okay, so that's the data layer. At the design layer, we see, we can't get the leadership level aesthetics right. For the audiences at the top of the org chart, they have very specific expectations, and maybe that needs to come in the form of a slide deck that is very specifically branded with our organization's color schemes, our logo, And we're probably expected to add text to really tell a story about what's going on to those audiences. So real design challenges that, again, we're going to show you ways to handle this in the VividCharts product today. And then finally, at the delivery layer, some of the constraints we hear of, just sharing reports with users that aren't working in the ServiceNow platform, or maybe don't even have the full license to go in, right? How do we get reports out in front of them, both in a real-time fashion, in an exported format in PDF or PowerPoint, or bundling reports that incorporate tables and visuals from across the ServiceNow platform, but need to be served up in a bundle that's clear and concise for the audience that we have in mind. So again, there's very real reasons why we end up in those messy manual methods that just don't scale. And this is really giving you a picture of how VividCharts thinks about our product and to give you more flexible tool sets to deliver on these and eliminate these challenges. So these are some of the barriers. To set the stage for some of the things you're going to see in our product in the workshop portion of today's webinar, at the foundational layer of everything you see, again, VividCharts lives in ServiceNow. So the foundational data layers are going to be your standard tables, your performance analytics indicators and score sheets, other data sources like database views, report sources, and various APIs throughout the platform. So that's what's feeding everything in the top layers. Now, at the data layer in VividCharts, we provide a flexible chart library that is built entirely in-house. So we can add new and unique chart types for customers to work with. And this is going to include your multi-table charts, charts that incorporate calculations into the chart directly, process-specific visuals for ITSM or SPM or other parts of the platform, and even fully bespoke visualizations that are built for specific purposes. And we call those specialized charts. So very powerful. It is a pro code side to the platform, but unlocks a ton of possibilities with how you can visualize and crunch your data. At the design level, this is all going to be facilitated through our drag and drop editor, where we can easily add logos, shapes, text to style, and brand everything in our no-code style menus that make things really easy for non-technical users like myself to make reports that look executive and customer facing standard. So that's the design layer. And then at the delivery layer, you're going to see everything in VividCharts today is shareable to non-licensed users, exports cleanly to PDF and PowerPoint. And then you're going to see 3 different report types: dashboards for that real-time, reporting cadence. You're going to see slide decks for that periodic reporting cadence. And then you're going to see what we call scaled report generation. And that's where you take that periodic report type and reporting cadence and really apply the scale to it by producing reports for every customer in your system, fully automatic, every location that you're supporting. So really powerful report type that we've introduced there that you're going to see today. So this sets the foundation for what you're going to see in the product today. And the other important thing to keep in mind is these report types, which we just stepped through, and the cadences that they're going to support that we referenced earlier. Your advanced dashboards for the real-time and ad hoc report types, the slide deck automation for your periodic reports, and then your scaled report generation that add an additional layer of scale for certain models and business types like managed service providers who need customer reports at scale for maybe hundreds or thousands of customers that they're supporting through their instance. So the 3 types of automated operational reporting that VividCharts powers: advanced dashboards, automated slide decks, and scaled report generation. So with that, we're going to actually move over from the slide deck portion, and we're actually going to start to step into the product for the workshop portion. And we're going to work through some of these concepts in real time in the VividCharts product here. So I'm going to be working out of 2 different instances for the workshop. We're going to start in our VividCharts ServiceNow instance here. So again, this lives directly in ServiceNow. So this is just a plugin. And what we're seeing here is the homepage of the VividCharts application, where we can build various report types that you're going to see today. Now, I have a collection already built out here for today's webinar, so I'm going to click into that. And collections are just a way to organize different reports that you've built out and share and distribute and provide access out to different audiences. So we're going to use this ITSM reporting at scale collection for today. Now, the first cadence we're going to look at is that on-demand real-time reporting cadence. And this is going to be more focused around the dashboard report type. So if I click into the editor here, you're going to see that drag and drop editor that we referenced that is really easy to manipulate, even for non-technical users. So you can see this is already laid out with a number of charts on the screen. We're going to go through a few chart builds when we get to the ad hoc reporting request portion. But for this, we're just going to show some of the functionality in the editor that makes these reports very easy to design and lay out for different audiences. So this is all geared towards ITSM, IT service data. So a lot of this is referencing the incident table, but you're seeing different charts from the VividCharts chart library here. So if I just pop open the charts menu here, I'll scroll through just so you all can see the different visuals that we have available. So with all of the data that we have flowing through our instance, aligning to different modules, you need a wide variety of visuals that allow you to tell different stories and interpret your data in different ways. So again, these are all built in-house, so we can add additional functionality to charts that we already have. We can also add new charts to the library based on what customers are needing to accomplish. So a wide variety of visuals. Again, we're going to see a few more of these when we get into the ad hoc report request cadence, and we'll build a few of these together. But for this dashboard real-time style use case, we've got a few charts here on the first slide. We've got another tab here that's going to be a larger visual, a tree map in the library. And then we've got a third tab here that's one of our trend charts that we call the trend table. So in the editor, this is where we can just design, pick our charts that we want as a part of our real-time dashboard. We can apply styling to match this to our organization's color scheme and brand. And what we ultimately get to is a dashboard that, if I go into the VividCharts viewer here, is accessible for users to interact with totally self-service on their own. So we've got our first tab here, and then our other tabs already ready to go on the report. So you can toggle self-service across any of these to answer those commonly asked questions about ITSM data. And you can also layer filters on top of this. So we've got a few filters applied here where we could select, say, specific categories of incidents that we want to look at, and maybe specific timescales. So if we just wanted to look at, say, the last 6 months for these specific categories, we can just click run. I now have my inputs slicing the data accordingly for all of the charts on each of the tabs of the dashboard. So filters can be specific to an individual tab. They can also be persistent across all of the tabs of your dashboard. So you can really provide a nice self-service interface for your customer groups to answer questions on their own. So again, the purpose of these real-time dashboards is to provide as much as you can out there to answer the commonly asked questions. So the real-time dashboard can also be shared with specific users, groups, or roles. We can toggle share with all logged in users, and this will allow anyone that can just log into your ServiceNow instance to view what we're looking at here. So you don't need that paid license from ServiceNow to do this. And even our dashboards export very cleanly to PDF or PowerPoint if you need to distribute that way. So the dashboard use case is most similar to what ServiceNow provides out of the box. It's a common concept across all reporting platforms. So wanted to start there as a place of common knowledge. But what we're going to go to next is some of the other report types VividCharts facilitates that help in those more periodic scenarios and periodic reviews where you need a little bit more scale. So from here, I'm going to jump back into the editor, and then I'm going to jump back into our collection, and we're going to look at this AOR IT KPI review, which is going to be that automated slide deck use case. So I'm back in the same editor experience here, but now I'm seeing a little bit different layout for a different purpose, where we actually need to present the previous period. So last month, last quarter, last week, and we probably need to put some structure to it here. So a couple of things just to call out. We've got some new elements on the slide here. We've got free text that we've added, so we could adjust this. If we needed to adjust the month, since we're not in July anymore, we could just pop that open and say, this is the November review. So we've made that adjustment, and we could just adjust our container size, and now we're looking for November. So we've got some free text elements here. We've got the VividCharts logo added, and we've got shapes to really go one for one off of whatever our corporate PowerPoint standard is. Now, as we work our way through in the dashboard, you can think of these more as tabs, but for an automated slide deck, it's really a deck similar to what you would put together in PowerPoint, but it's taking what we know and love about real-time reporting in ServiceNow and combining it with what we know and love about PowerPoint, the ability to structure a presentation, tell a story, add text that interprets what the data is showing for us. So again, here, these are just charts that are really easy to add in place on the slide. We've got free text here that we could have a template for, and then on a month-to-month basis, come in and update this for, the month that we're looking at, and add the story that we want to tell. And you can have this template set up so it's already automatically getting fed the data, and all you need to do is come in and provide the context and the story on top of this. So we can have as many slides in these as we want. And when it's time to actually go out and present this, we can go back into that viewer experience that we were in before, and it'll look very similar, but it's actually going to be laid out more like a slide presentation. So we can present directly out of ServiceNow in our viewer experience here. We can present in full screen, just the same way that we can in PowerPoint. And what's really powerful here is, we could present this out of PowerPoint if we wanted to, but we could also set up click-through on any of these charts, and from our presentation, drill into the data if the discussion requires it. So as you're fielding questions, if you need to take a closer look at any of the slices of the data, you've got direct access here. So full ability to present directly out of ServiceNow in the viewer format here. But again, we have the ability to download this to PDF or PowerPoint if you do need to distribute a hard file, or if you have other content that needs to be added from other platforms, etc. So really important that you can get to this flat file without sacrificing on the format, and still getting the automation benefits and not having to screenshot different charts and reports across your instance. So this is going to be the automated slide deck style report that's really good for those periodic reviews. Now, if we start to tie this back to some of the concepts that we started with, right, aligning this to your business model and support structure, you might find that you need to have a slide deck standard like this that looks at the whole IT organization, but you also might need to slice this by a location, a geography, an assignment group. So VividCharts does give you the ability to do that as well. So we saw our filter mechanism that allows us to filter across tabs of a dashboard. We can also filter across all of these slides using filters in this format. So we can do that in real time in the viewer here, slice by assignment group. But if you need to do that at scale, you might want to take a different approach. So I'm going to jump out of the viewer here and show you a reporting concept we introduced that we call the report generator. And so that's going to be on our homepage as well as within the collection view here. And let's say we want that IT KPI review that we were just looking at, but we want it for a specific assignment group. And I'll just give this a name and a date for our webinar. And then I'm going to select our AOR IT KPI review. That's going to be the base slide deck that we're using. And then we can decide if this is just, something we need temporarily, or if we need it to be a permanent report. So I'll select permanent report, and then it's just as easy as selecting the assignment group or groups that we want. So let's say we want to just look at a handful of these, and we want just the slice for those assignment groups. So I've clicked run, and now in the background, VividCharts is going to be producing that standard slide deck that we were just looking at just for those assignment groups. So if I go back over to our homepage here, that's now going to show up in my reports collection here. And you can see it's still generating the deck, and it just became ready. So I can pop it open in the viewer. And now we have that same standard slide deck, but it's only going to be showing me data for those specific assignment groups that we've selected. So this is a way to give you flexibility to not just have a standard at the organizational level, but also the ability to slice this by a specific service, assignment group, so you can really cover the needs up and down the org chart, and have your reports respond and scale accordingly. So this is one way we can take this periodic slide deck review and provide more scale to your ITSM reporting program. Now, there are other scenarios, and we talked about this for our managed service providers in the audience, where maybe you need to have a little bit more scale and definition built in and not have it be an ad hoc, report that you run, for each customer, each assignment group once a month. So this is where we're going to get into scaled report generation, where it's very similar in concept to what we're just looking at here, but it's going to provide a little bit more structure and scale. So we're getting logged in here, still loading here. And I'll go into the homepage of VividCharts. And I'm going to go into another collection that I have built in this instance for the webinar. And there's two components we're going to look at here. We're going to look at our base template, and then we're going to look at our hub, where we've applied this template against all of the customers that we're supporting out of our instance. So if I click the pencil icon for our service review template here, you're going to see a similar but different style of a slide deck that we have here. And again, this is going to use static elements that we're seeing, but also dynamic elements that are going to point at specific records in the system. So in this case, we're going to look at, for a managed service provider, how do we apply this same standard template and produce one for every customer that we have in the system. So this is a chart that we have that's just going to point at the customer name and display it on here. But conceptually, it's going to look and feel pretty close to what we were just looking at in the other slide deck. So we've got a slide here that's showing us what devices our IT hub is managing for us, or our MSP is managing for us. And again, we just have a couple of slides in here, but we have MSPs leveraging this that have slide decks that are 20 plus slides long. So incredible scale that this can give you. And in the editor, the goal is just to standardize, right? What is the content in terms of the data, the visuals we're going to choose, the design of the deck itself? Is it branded for our managed service offerings? And we're going to standardize all of that in the editor. Now, what's really powerful about scaled report generation is once we've done that in the editor here, we have a mechanism where we can then map all of the tables that we're using and save this as a template. So in this template, we're just using the CMDB CI table, but for service review, you might want incident data, problem data, change data, CMDB data, and you want all of that to map back and show you this report for just one customer. So you map that once, and then you can either update your existing template or save it as a new template here. Once you've saved it as a template, I'll jump back into our collection here. We can then produce that at scale for all of the customers in the system. And what's really important here to think about is you can align this to any record type in your environment. So while we're looking at customers here, if you're not a managed service provider, you could point this at specific services or service offerings, specific assignment groups. You could even point this at a more granular record like a P1 incident or a problem root cause analysis that you had to report out on a monthly basis. So this concept applies across various record types. But once we've applied our template, I can select any customer that I want, and I have our service review ready to go, filtered to only that customer's data, and I'm ready to present or just share it directly with the client or customer group. So again, you can share this out as a URL. You can export this to PDF or PowerPoint with a click. So a lot of autonomy built in here for different workflows and how you would want to distribute these out to your audiences. So we're looking at just a single customer here. If we just, as a thought exercise, think about a different record type, we could apply this to, say, a major incident review or a problem root cause analysis we're putting together for a business line we're supporting. We can also bundle these together and select multiple, create what we call a set here, and we'll call this our webinar set. Click save, and then we can open these up as a bundle. So I can open these up in the viewer, and I'll be taken back to that same viewer experience, but now we have 6 slides in here. So 3 for each client, and 3 for our next client here. So if you think about, your business model, the different customer groups you're supporting, you could picture a certain line of business that you're doing a periodic review for and putting together a bundle of all the priority 1 and 2 problems that you analyzed and provided root cause analyses for. Bundle those all together in a click, fully automated, you're ready to have that periodic review with that customer group. So incredible scale that this provides both for internal ITSM organizations as well as managed service providers who are supporting many clients out of their ServiceNow instance here. So this concept, again, is really flexible across different record types. So this is all we're going to cover in the webinar today. But if you're out there in the audience and you're thinking about an idea or a use case or a workflow that you're trying to support that you feel like this would be helpful for, definitely reach out with us, engage. We can show other examples, in more of a one-off call to show how we can apply this to different record types and facilitate different workflows off of it. All right, so we've covered the real-time cadence with our real-time interactive dashboard. We've covered our periodic review cadence in 2 different fashions using an automated slide deck and then using an automated slide deck and applying our scaled report generation to it. The last piece we're going to look at is those ad hoc report requests that you need a flexible set of tools for, and you need to respond to in a very timely manner for. So we're going to jump back actually into our other instance here, and we're just going to go through a couple of examples of different ad hoc report requests we might have to field and how we can put those together very quickly with VividCharts. So to do that, I'm just going to open up a brand new view, and that'll take me back into the editor here. And if we just think about, a question we might have to field from a certain IT group out there, what if an IT group is wanting to see, a list of all the incidents broken down or grouped by the assignment group, maybe priority, the business service it's associated with. This is a good way to start to look at a little bit more of the VividCharts chart library and how we have more flexibility to respond to those types of requests. So again, we've got a large set of visuals that we could choose from here, but for the requests that we're fielding, we're going to choose what we call a nested list here. So this is going to be a list of the incidents, but it's going to allow us to add groupings in that align to the requests that we've gotten ad hoc. So when we build a new chart in VividCharts, the first thing we're going to do is select our data source so we can get to various data sources here. For this, we just need to get to the incident table. So we'll just choose table as our data source. We'll choose the incident table. We'll click save, and then we'll start to add our group bys in here. So if we think about the request that we got, we want to group by probably the assignment group to start. That's going to be our top level grouping. Then we want to see them stacked by priority. And then lastly, we want to see the business service that it's associated with. So those are going to be our three groupings. So I selected those and I'll click save. And then what other information might we want to provide to give full context on the request? We probably want to include the incident number in there as well if they want to go look at that individual record. So we'll add the number in. You'll also notice we have the ability to condition the data down if we want to. We can also limit the number of records that we want to show. So maybe we want to bump that up to 50 if we know we're looking at a larger data set. And then we also probably want to condition this down. So let's say we want to say the assignment group is known, so it's not empty. We want to only look at certain priority level. So we'll say is one of either critical or high. And that is looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and click save here. So now we've got our chart on the editor. I can place it where I want. I can resize it to give us a little bit more real estate to view the data. And you can see we've got our groupings built in. So we've got assignment group, so all of Acme support. We're starting with all of our critical incidents, right? Showing the business service and the ticket number here. Now, if I click save, if that feels sufficient to deliver on the ad hoc requests, I can click save, publish, and then go into the viewer. I can now scroll through and see our 50 incidents, or if we want to see more, we could adjust that volume count in there. I could share this with a user or group that requested it. I could also just toggle this share with all logged in users and just share the URL out. So it makes it really, really easy to not just put the visual together to meet the request, but also make it shareable. And then you just send the link out. You could drop it in a collection for them. A lot of different ways you could distribute the data from there. So that's an end-to-end build on one report request. And this is more of a list style visual with some groupings baked in. But let's take a look at another example here that's a little bit more visual. So we've got our first slide here, but let's look at another example. So we want to add an additional slide here. So we have a fresh canvas. And let's say the question we get asked is we want to see, some change data, and we want to know which assignment groups are fielding change requests of a certain priority level. So a good way to look at that data, you could look at that in a pie or maybe two pies, but there's also a single visual that we could use that puts all of that information in a nice visual format called a Sankey chart. So we'll search for our Sankey. We'll select that here. We're again going to look at a table as our data source, but this time we're going to choose change request. So we'll choose that, click save, and this is where we're going to select our group bys. So our group bys, you can think about, they're going to flow from left to right on the Sankey. So on the left-hand side, we're going to start with our priority, so we can easily see the priority level. And then we're also going to want to map that to the assignment group on the right side of the chart. So we'll click save. Let's say we do want this to be clickable. We do have different ways to aggregate the data with averages and sums, but count is sufficient for this request. So from there, we'll just click save. So again, our chart just appears on the canvas here. We can adjust the size. We can make it a little bit bigger vertically. But then we can start to notice some of the things that we're seeing here. If we just look at this chart, we're seeing a lot of data or real estate taken up on the right-hand side, and we can't really see all of these assignment groups, and we have empty here. So just to make that adjustment, we could go back in here and add a condition and say we want assignment group is not empty. Click Save, and we're going to see the chart update in real time just before our eyes. So now we've got a better view of the data, but we're also seeing a lot of real estate, again, taken up by this low priority level change, which are probably automated. And it looks like they're primarily going to a single assignment group here, the ServiceNow development team. So again, to make this a little bit more useful, we might want to jump back in our conditions and add a condition for priority. And again, we'll just say is one of. Maybe we only want to see the critical, high, and moderate changes. We click Save, and now our visual is a little bit easier to read and actually draw some conclusions on. Now, each of these charts, we won't have time in the webinar to go into style menus across all of our different chart types, but there are some consistent style elements that you'll see across the library here. The title, for example, we could just adjust this to changes by priority. We could make that a little bit bigger. So again, this is no code experience. I'm not technical. I can make it bold. I can center a line. I could change the text color if I wanted to. And then depending on the chart that we've chosen, we might have other opportunities to change, for any of the charts, we could change the color scheme here to the VividCharts blue. We could add conditional styling. So if we wanted to actually hard code the colors that we're using for the different priority levels, we could bake that in. And there's different options to control the data labels. So those are a little bit small, kind of tough to read. So we'll make those a little bit bigger and bold. So again, a lot of styling flexibility here that we can work with. And once we're done, we just click Save. Again, we'll publish, and we can jump right back out into the viewer. And we've got our Sankey chart that's ready to serve up and deliver on that ad hoc report request. So again, we can view this in here. You can layer filters on. In the editor, there's so much that we can do with our ServiceNow data here. But for the webinar today, what we really wanted to get across is some of these key reporting concepts. The dashboard, the automated slide deck, scaled report generation, and how we can use those different report types to support real-time, periodic, and ad hoc reporting requests, all to give our reporting program more scale. So again, if you're in the audience out there and you saw a chart that you'd like to see a little bit more detail on, there's such a large library here. We could spend a session with you individually looking at a specific report type or request that you've had challenges delivering on. So more than happy to do that on a one-off basis coming out of today. But with just a couple of minutes left, I am going to flip back over into our slides here. Just kind of wrap up with a bit of a summary here. The keys to success and scale that we covered today. Your reporting program absolutely should align to the business model of your organization. It should support key audiences up and down the org chart, as well as horizontally across the org chart. Your goal should be to standardize and automate reporting outputs that are useful in real-time scenarios, as well as periodic situations. And you absolutely have to have a flexible set of tools, visuals, calculation capability to deliver on those ad hoc report requests when time is really of the essence. So coming out of today, some really good resources for you to look into anything you saw today in a little bit more detail. You can register for our Vivid Hub. So this is directly on our website. You create a login there, and you can see real VividCharts examples that are similar and even the same as some of the examples that you saw today. So that's a really nice self-exploration tool. We also have on our website the ability to book a demo on our calendar directly, so you don't have to engage with us at all. Just pull up that calendar link and pick out a time that works for you, and we can dig into your specific reporting requirements or pain points. And then we also have a really good resource on the website, our automated operational reporting guide. That is a nice PDF asset that summarizes a lot of the concepts that we saw today to provide more automation and scale to your reporting program. All right, we do have one here. What kind of ServiceNow license do you need to view VC reporting? So You can, as we looked at in the sharing, you can share reports with specific users, groups, or roles. That toggle for share with all logged in users means if you can just log into the ServiceNow instance, you're able to see the URL of that report. So that means or users that don't have a paid license but can input tickets, they could see those. We also have the ability to leverage the public role in ServiceNow. So that's an out-of-the-box role. That's not ultimately applicable to most organizations, but that is available as well. So no specific license type that you need. We do have another one here. What do you mean by automation when talking about reporting? Automation when talking about reporting is it's really taking the concepts that we talked about today and figuring out what are the common questions or reports that you're having to produce, and can you have the system itself and the technology produce them for you in a fully automated fashion or semi-automated. So pointing back to some of what we saw in the demo today, you could have a fully automated slide deck that's totally data driven from data in your ServiceNow instance. You could also have a semi-automated deck that is there, the data is reportable and visualized for you, and then you just go in and add the bullet points, the context, and the story to go along with it. All right, and I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. So with that, I'm going to close out the live stream. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.